they're hexed. So with this pickup, the Retry have a time frame in which they're going to deal massive amounts of damage to Bristleback like they would to any other hero, regardless of which way he's turning. I hope I'm not wrong on this and spreading misinformation here, but I'm actually fairly confident that that is the case, that Hex disables it. Just like it disables Evasion. So, nice pickup for the Retry. They have maybe only one of their supports so far, because Alchemist could be going mid. That's an option. They could also put the Razor in the mid, and final bans from Alliance will be Enigma, and from the Retry, Doom.
Bulldogs,
and Lone Druid.
Wow. All right. So
wow. Never seen this before from Alliance.
Yeah, we are live on both streams now, waiting for the delay on BTS 1 to catch up, guys. So I am going to terminate the BTS 2 broadcast right now. If you're on the BTS 2 channel, just head over to the regular BTS stream, and you'll find us there again. Sorry about that. The delay server should be catching up, and it should be live by the time you hear this, and I think it'll all work out. So we'll see you guys over on the primary Beyond the Summit channel, twitch.tv/Beyond the Summit.
5 seconds remaining.
Okay, and that is the end of our BTS 2 broadcast, and I think we're in good shape here, Cinderin. So we made it before the draft even ended. So, all right, Viper going to be that final pick. So, again, you were the one paying attention to the draft here while I was setting that up. So maybe a quick recap, maybe a general overview of these teams for those just joining us on BTS 1.
Yeah, the Retry started out with a first pick Alchemist, which they generally do. Alliance's response, very standard for them, getting up Visage as a high priority support, and Bristleback is a hero who's been gaining a lot of popularity, so they picked that up. The Retry chose to go with Razor. I feel like that's a direct counter to the Bristleback pick, and I would love to see it work out for them, because I think it's a really nice solution to it. After that, Alliance getting their hands on both Venomancer and Puck, whereas the Retry pick up Nature's Prophet and Lion. And mainly the reason to justify the Lion pick, I think, is that they wanted a secondary stun to set up for Alchemist, as well as the Hex against Bristleback to remove that Bristleback option. Also nice to have against Puck. An instant stun or not exactly a stun, but the instant Hex against Puck is really nice to set up for that. Alliance going for a Lone Druid, I guess there's not much to be said about that. That's Alliance picking a very classic Alliance hero, which seems pretty good here. And finally, the Retry will finish off with Viper, who they've been playing a lot, and I feel like the Retry are really trying to deal with Bristleback with their draft. Viper, another good hero against Bristle. Lots of slows, so he can't move so well. And once he starts getting low, that Nether Toxin really kicks in. And also a good hero to have against Lone Druid in terms of laning, because the Bear... Viper can actually just keep hitting the Bear. And if the Bear tries to take the fight, the Corrosive Skin will kick in, and eventually he will have to resummon. So,
yeah,
nice lane counters, nice idea. And the question is about the whole consistency of the lineup, how good the Retry's lineup is going to play out for them here.
Yeah, and one thing that's interesting is sort of, you made light of Admiral Bulldog grabbing the Lone Druid. That's something we've seen many times in the past, but actually recently we haven't. That's been something that has sort of fallen off a little bit. For a while, Lone Druid was pretty much banned regardless against Alliance. Now teams have been letting him get through, but Bulldog's been trying to expand that repertoire of heroes. And I actually don't really remember the last time I saw Bulldog play Lone Druid. Maybe once or twice here or there, but he certainly has not played it yet in Starladder that I can recall. Do you have any insight into that hero in particular as to why the Bulldog has not been keeping true to his bear senses?
They had... I think, first of all, he's been nerfed again, or has been nerfed, and generally the way the version has developed, people got a lot more experience in playing against Lone Druid, and Bulldog himself said that Lone Druid wasn't the hero it used to be in terms of the way the metagame worked. So I think one of the reasons Lone Druid has fallen off a bit is that teams tend to pick lineups that fight really early on, and Lone Druid needs a bit of time. He needs that buffer to get up that Radiance if you go for that build. And if you don't go for the Radiance, then whatever else you get also takes time. He needs a lot of farm to be really useful. That's kind of the way Lone Druid is. Not really comparable to an Anti-Mage who needs very long, but Lone Druid needs one key item that, regardless of which build you go, will kind of cost at least about 5,000, either the Radiance or Face Boots plus Basher, or something along those lines, which... The Basher is kind of always a backup plan, because I think Radiance is the build that most Lone Druids would prefer to get as their priority, but sometimes you can't do it. So, a combination of a change in meta, as well as a change in general hero priorities. Other offlaners are gaining a lot more popularity. I guess that's mainly it. But actually, Bulldog will not be playing the offlane here. He will be going mid, which is very unusual for Alliance.
Yeah, they did call an audible here. It looked like he was going to that top lane. And with that, let's go ahead and introduce our rosters and the positions. Here on the Radiant side, we do have Team Alliance. EGM going to be in the bottom, playing on the Venomancer. He will be supporting Loda here on the Bristleback. Another interesting kind of change of pace. Ake going to be the one on the Visage. Looks like he is headed down to the bottom lane. Admiral Bulldog will be going mid, as Cinderin mentioned here. And uh-oh, he's going to be under heavy assault. PGG going to come in on that Alchemist. He does have a haste rune on. Will connect with an unstable concoction. They really want this Bulldog. They might not find him. I think they are just going to about face and go for Ake. PGG in a little bit of trouble, though. He's going to fall. It's going to be a 1-for-1, though TR is still going to walk away the victors as they do grab that Bloodlust. It is going to go the way of Yoki on that Nature's Prophet.
I still think Alliance can be okay with that, because that was a 4-on-2. So getting a 1-for-1 trade in that, knowing that Loda has a completely free lane, EGM can just go and pull right now, and yeah, what I'm more concerned about for Alliance, I think this mid lane is going to be perfectly fine. It's a lane that Admiral Bulldog has played a million times on Lone Druid, and I think it's even easier for the Lone Druid in the mid lane than when he's in the off lane against the Prophet. But S4 should have a really hard time top. Viper is one of the worst heroes for Puck to play against. Consistent aggression, good range, and high damage output is something Puck has a hard time dealing with early on, and I think we're going to see Nubik really put pressure here.
Yep, absolutely. So, as you mentioned, Puck going to be played by S4 in the top lane. Nubik going to be on the Viper on the side of the Retry, of course, our dire team in this match. Yoki going to be mid on the Nature's Prophet. And down here in the bottom, it will be a tri-lane for TR. PGG on the Alchemist, as we saw. No Fear going to be playing on the Razor. And Eid will be supporting down here with the Lion. So, this is a try-on-try down here in the bottom. And as we mentioned, Alliance, they have a pretty aggressive tri-lane here, but they really don't have any stuns. No stuns at all. They've got plenty of slow between the Veno, the Visage, and even the sticky goo, that viscous nasal goo. So plenty of slow, but no stuns compared to TR. They've got plenty of crowd control. Lion with his Hex as well as Earth Spike, and then of course PGG's Unstable Concoction, which we already got to see in full form here in this match. So kind of interesting. These lanes definitely not the way we would have thought, though in the mid it seems that Admiral Bulldog is holding his own. He is going to be 10-6 against the 6-2 Nature's Prophet. And welcome back to the game there, my friend.
Yeah, I just took a quick reconnect. I think, even though I set up my my in-game mic, I think it wasn't working in Dota TV, but now it should be working. At least I'm getting the correct icon there. So I thought I fixed it. I hadn't. Now I should definitely have fixed it. So hopefully everything is good.
Wonderful.
So yeah,
wonderful.
Alliance, as far as lanes go off to a good start. I'm very surprised that Puck is winning against Viper right now, because I feel like this is a lane where Nubik, he should just be orb walking S4 right now. Throw an orb, S4 will phase shift the first one, then keep hitting him. Keep going on that Puck for the aggression. They know where the supports are. Now we're going to see Nubik finally doing it. He might actually be able to bring down his 4 up here. It's going to be pretty damn close at least. No, not enough. Yeah. I would have loved to see Nubik do this 2 minutes ago. Right when he's level 2, just start hitting the Puck and force him out of the lane. This is how he secures safe farm and defeats the Puck in the lane.
Yep, though Nubik slowly catching up in the farm right now, 12-4 against the 13-5 Puck, so a break even. And as you mentioned, that does sort of translate into a win for Puck. Is generally speaking, that's not a matchup the Fairy Dragon should be favored in. Down here in the bottom, though, it's non-stop action back and forth. They do try to engage on PGG. He will be the first to fall. The Gale did connect to start things off, and then the nuke from Visage will be enough to secure that kill. Nature's Prophet does make it happen to secure that kill onto Visage, though. He does have a double damage rune, ports down, pardon me, on the Venomancer, and does make it at least a 1-for-1. So they will grab support Alchemist in exchange for the support Veno. Now Loda wanting to get a bit aggressive here as well. E going to throw the Earth Spike. They may try and turn this around. Razor going to bring on the Static Link, but needs to be very careful here. EGM's back in the mix. That's going to be a Gale. Now they're going to turn it around once again as a Sprout comes out. Both sides getting pretty low on health. Loda wants to man up to finish off No Fear, but he's not going to find it. And EGM still maybe in a little bit of trouble here. Yoki looking like he wants to pursue. Ake very, very low. One more auto attack from the Nature's Prophet. This is going to be a very cost-effective port down here for Yoki. He's already picked up 2 kills and maybe even another. No, he's going to head for the hills now as Loda does rotate his way back into the lane. Now, while all that was happening, Viper did secure a solo kill on the Puck up in the top lane. I did not catch it on camera, but probably a pretty straightforward kill as we were witnessing just before that engage down bottom began.
Actually, wasn't quite a solo kill. I caught the end of it there, that PGG died early on in the fight at bottom, and he made a really good decision moving top, because that's something Puck isn't going to expect right after the Alchemist dies bottom. But he immediately went up top, secured a kill for the Viper, and now Viper, up to level 6, almost 6.5, against a level 5.5 Puck. I think S4 will need help if Nubik plays this right now. And that's a really big advantage for TR, because the only help that can really come is going to be from bottom. Lone Druid is a terrible roamer slash ganker in that mid role. He needs to farm and stay and push the tower. So the rotation will have to come from the supports, and maybe they can get a sort of setup on Loda and bottom then.
Yeah, and one positive for Alliance here, despite Yoki going down to that bottom lane and picking up a couple of kills, Bulldog did get a little bit of room in the mid. He is now the last hit leader, sitting 28-8. Viper second on the chart with 25-12 right now. But Yoki on the Nature's Prophet actually is our net worth leader at the moment. He does have a Bono with an invisibility rune in it. Kind of curious to see what a mid Nature's Prophet is going to grab in terms of items. Looks like he'll make an executive decision for us here, as he has picked up the double Blaze of Attack for those phase boots. Not surprised to see that in the mid lane. I like this build on Nature's Prophet. I think that plus 24 damage really gives him a lot more utility in this early game if he wants to be a bit more aggressive, move around, and try and set up some kills. Very curious if he's going to end up going with that kind of old school Shadow Blade into Sheepstick or Orchid, something like that, or if he's going to go for that sort of new fashion Furion build with Necronomicon being that first core item. Though, Puck in the top lane. Oh no, I saw PGG grab that haste rune, and yeah, that's an easy kill on the Puck. It caught the tail end of it, but poor S4, definitely struggling up here. He is at least level 6 now, but going to take another trip back to the grave.
And the lane so far working out really well for TR. Now Viper is leading the last hit board that was kind of dominated by Admiral Bulldog, but being in that mid lane position, it's hard for him to gain all the farm because Prophet can challenge him on quite a lot of it. Now the Invis rune actually going to auto pop, so he can't really use that anymore. But looking good so far for the retry, and this is the kind of lineup you really want to start out well. If you're running an aggressive trial lane with Lion, it's really important you have success, because this hero will fall off very hard if he doesn't get levels on a trial lane. But he's level 4 at 7 minutes, which is pretty okay. Speaking of which, bottom lane S4 is going to come in with the Dream Coil. Eid is going to be in a hell of a lot of trouble here. There's going to be an Illusory Orb as well. Yeah. Easy kill, but did cost the rotation from the Puck.
Yep, that did open up more free farm for the Viper, but not bad. S4 did actually grab that kill and is going to give him a little bit of recovery, a little boost in the experience there. Not too much, but still working his way into level 6, at least maintaining some activity about the map and trying to find some positives. We'll see a port from EGM up to that top lane. He's going to throw down a Plague Ward to try and delay this push just a little bit, but Furion has rotated as well, and of course those Treants make for pretty easy tower pushing here in the early phase. And it looks like the first tower of the match is going to fall in favor of TR as the top tier 1 goes down, and Viper is going to be the one to finish it off, so Nubik's farm going to continue to grow. Alliance with the right idea though. They want to take a tower of their own. They're going to use the Bear in the mid to tank up that tier 1. Lion going to rotate his way in, wants to repel, and it looks like his presence will be enough. They're not going to commit to it, though the tower is going to be but an easy push away from a kill, especially for the Bulldog here in the upcoming moments. Actually still a siege creep chipping away at it, and may take it down to deny range here. So Eid may be able to secure an easy deny on this, which is a little bit unfortunate for Alliance.
I think Alliance is still going to be happy with getting down the mid-tier 1. It's been talked about a lot on previous casts how important it is to have the mid-tier 1 tower, because of the potential that gives him away a bit on that. Bottom lane, Loda is going to be brought down. He did a lot of damage there, but the Magic Stick is keeping No Fear alive. A couple of pings coming out from Loda, but no one's there to finish him off. But the mid tower does go down. Alliance will claim that. And just want to point out, down the bottom lane beforehand, Razor managed to TP out from an attempt from Loda as well as the Visage by Ake. So already seeing what we talked about in the draft, that Alliance, they're kind of low on stuns. And because of that, it's hard for Bristleback to get these kills in the lane if the enemy heroes can just TP out before you stack up your Quill Spray.
Yeah. Absolutely, that's one of those hard counters to Bristleback. The simple TP scroll, he's got no interrupt mechanism, so, well, I guess well played by No Fear. Bulldog is going to go ahead and make that economic investment, though. He's got about a 9-minute Midas. He did go for the phase boots first, and the Midas is on the courier here. There we go. Now he's going to deliver it. So that's about a 9-minute Midas. Not too bad. Not the fastest Midas we've seen, but given that he did go phase boots first, it is pretty timely. Up in the top lane here, EGM is going to be in some trouble. PGG charging up that concoction is going to be able to get it off, and this should be a solo kill on the Venomancer pretty easily. No, maybe not. EGM going to port out, and he is going to make it just barely, but he'll make it. And while that was happening, of course, we did miss another kill. Looks like S4 with the double damage rune was able to set it up on the Nature's Prophet, and Ake rotated over, and he was the one to finish off the poor Furion.
Yeah, S4 is definitely making the right decision now by moving around. He knows this top lane is impossible for him to stay in anymore, so the moment he got the level 6, he started getting 2 kills. He's got 1 kill and 1 assist with that now, so set it up nicely for Alliance, and I think Puck is the big playmaker right now, as we talked about, because Lone Druid can't be.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of pressure on S4 to deliver these kills, and if he manages to do it, it's going to work out really great for Alliance, because Lone Druid gets a lot of space and a lot of time. He's got 63 CS at 10 minutes, which is very high for a mid lane scenario. And if this continues, then we just know how Alliance likes to play with that Lone Druid. They get an early game in which they don't lose too hard. They don't even necessarily need to win the early game. If they draw or lose by a little bit, the moment that Radiance comes up, they just start taking fights and pushing towers. And
Right.
even when coupled with a Bristleback, that's even better. EGM, though, is going to kill Alchemist, but I think there's going to be a turnaround here for Yoki on EGM. Does not have... Actually does have mana for TP, but no chance.
Not going to use it. Yeah, no way you're going to survive that one. So a simple 1-for-1 up top, support for support. Nothing too crazy about it. But here in the bottom lane, Alliance getting aggressive once again. Looks like they want to start chipping away at this bottom tier 1 tower. They've got S4 down here as well. He's now been able to hit level 7, so that is further good news here for the Fairy Dragon. No fear, the lone defender right now is going to be able to keep that tower safe while he waits for Nubik and Eid to perhaps rotate their way in. Viper has had a great game, as we've mentioned. It already has that mech up, as well as the power treads and a Bass Ring. Probably going to be working towards that Ag Scepter next, but a nice early mech is definitely good news for a Viper. Does need some sort of a survivability-based item first, and he's going to find it here. S4 still moving around, though. So far, S4 has actually been pretty successful in this roaming. As you mentioned, he needs to make plays happen. 1, 2, and 1, that's not too bad, given that start that he had. And he is finding experience as well, which is probably the more difficult part, I think, at this juncture.
Yeah, and as long as Loda and Admiral Bulldog keep their farming up, Puck doesn't need anything else in this game than a Blink Dagger. We don't need to see a Dagon, we don't need to see a Scythe of Vice, because the cores from Alliance, apart from Puck, will do so much damage in this game that it's going to be perfectly fine as long as he can bring the control to the table.
Yep.
One thing I'm not sure we mentioned, Line has hit level 6. Makes for a very easy kill on pretty much any target they find apart from Bristleback. And Lone Druid, if he's caught in ranged form, he's an easy kill as well.
Yeah.
But Loda needs to be careful still, because I got confirmation that I'm right about the Hex thing. It does disable Bristleback. So
yes.
even with 4 points up in the Bristleback ability, if Loda is hexed, he takes the full damage. And that's something that's going to really hurt with the amount of bursts that TR can put out during that Hex duration.
Mm-hmm. And especially if a Sheepstick comes out again, still not sure what build Furion is going to go for. He did go ahead and grab the Hand of Midas. He'll rotate into the jungle, so at least going to grab that farming mechanism to try and at least stay somewhat toe-to-toe with the Admiral Bulldog. Bulldog is kind of off to the races, about 500 up on the Nature's Prophet, but still they are going to be able to farm relatively evenly, all things equal, of course. And we'll see. I think Shadowblade Sheepstick might work well here, having a double Hex to shut down that Bristleback. Could definitely be difficult for poor Loda. He does have a Vanguard up nice and early, though. That is good news for the Bristleback that we're talking about here. At least going to have some survivability in this early game.
And things are stalling up a little bit here. Not too much being attempted by either side, and I think this favors Alliance if this just continues, because they're getting the higher farm. Both Bristleback and Lone Druid have more farm than Viper and Nature's Prophet, respectively. And Razor, in this aggressive trial lane scenario, really hasn't got that much farm. He's got 30 CS at about 13 minutes. I would have probably hoped for more, but here comes the action. Yoki is in on EGM, and that's probably going to be a really easy kill here.
Nice path blocking from Yoki to start it off. He did port in, and yeah, that was a pretty easy kill. And TR, we'll see what they want to do with it. I thought for a second they may move into the Roach Pit, but just going to clear up the Plague Wards and move about. Maybe they will try and pressure the mid lane a little bit and knock down that tier 1 tower. Not sure exactly where they want to go. Perhaps just back to farming. And another easy kill on that Venomancer. This is one of these games where it seems that, although TR have been able to pick up quite a few kills, they haven't been on those really high-ticket heroes. Visage has fallen twice, and Venomancer has fallen 3 times as well. So between that, they've picked up 5 kills on these supports. Not that killing supports is bad, but not the same as shutting down that Lone Druid or that Bristleback, those two kind of high-value targets. And Lone Druid has really had a lot of movement, a lot of room here. Bulldog is 1-0-0 and just rotating about the jungle and the bottom lane. I think he's still the level leader. He's just about to hit level 12, so he still has the experience edge over everyone else in the game. And if he is pulling up for that Radiance, he's doing pretty well. He's got about 2.8k in the bank, so just about 1,000 off that mark to grab his Sacred Relic.
Now it looks like it is Bulldog they're finally going to try to go for down here at bottom. I don't know if they have enough damage to do this. There comes the Prophet as well. They might have with the Prophet porting in. Yeah, this will be a kill. Nice execution here coming out from the retry. Highest profile kill. They finally got where they were.
Yeah.
They've probably been looking for this for a while, but haven't really found it. And want to point out as well, we talked about how Razor's going to be good against Bristle, and I can't believe I missed this in the draft, but it's actually interesting that Alliance choose to pick Lone Druid against Razor, because in Dota 2 you can static link the bear. So with that Radiance, the burn damage is of course still going to come through, but even in a mid-late game scenario, you often see the bear having to commit into the fight, and if it gets drained for a few seconds, it really loses a lot of its potential. Of course, Razor can't drain both the Bristleback and the bear, but he has the choice.
Yeah.
And that's really important. That also means he will have more than one target, so there's a high chance in any sort of fight that he will be able to drain a priority target and take that out of the fight for Alliance. So the farm on Lone Druid might not have the same impact as we could expect it generally does for Admiral Bulldog, but so far he's definitely keeping up to his pace that he usually does.
Yeah, and TR are going to prove me wrong a little bit here as they did finish off the Bulldog, but they will find a follow-up to that kill. They're going to clear that bottom Tier 1 tower, so they will actually take the tower advantage here, 2-1. As they clear out yet another Tier 1 tower. And of course, actually the one that Alliance have taken out was denied. So there is a fair disparity in terms of tower gold that is going to push TR back into the gold lead. But as you mentioned, Alliance are okay with that. Looking at this graph, this is totally within that zeroed out fluctuation that Alliance is totally a-okay with at this point, as long as Bulldog can continue to find some space to farm. Puck's still a little ways off that blank here at the 16-minute mark, so still not the best game for S4. He's got about 700 in the bank. Does have a haste rune in the bottle and his power tread. So he's got those cores, and now the long grind to pull up for that blink dagger does begin. If Alliance can knock down maybe this top tier 1, maybe that bottom tier 1 as well, that'll go a long way in dealing with S4's plight to grab a blink dagger.
This is a very tanky Viper they have to chew through first, though. He's got 1500 health, 3 points in Corrosive Skin, and a mechanism, but maybe they won't even have to fight, because TR aren't in position. They didn't see this one coming, so Alliance will be taking Tier 1 top, probably at the trade of the Tier 1 mid that the Retry are trying to claim right now. And Nature's Prophet, they choose to go for the Necronomicon build that we talked about he might go for here. So no Shadow Blade, no Hex, but rather focusing on pushing power. And I can understand where he's coming from with the kind of lineup they have, because late game is really not where TR shines. They don't have one of those really strong late gamers such as Lone Druid that Alliance has on their side, but what TR do have, they have really good mid-game carries. Viper, Razor, as well as arguably Nature's Prophet, not really a carry in mid-game, but a really strong utility, let's call him that, in the mid-game. So their lineup really peaks here around the 20 to 25 minute mark, so definitely agreeing with the Necrobook as an option.
Yes, and I'll second that notion there. If this was a carry Alchemist, I'd say maybe they have a bit of a carry edge, or at least be able to hold their own in the late game, but given that it is a PGG support Alchemist, Razor as well as Viper, not quite going to be able to hold their own against a super stacked Lone Druid. But TR going to make the right choice here to move into the Roche Pit, given that Alliance are committed to that top lane, and they're not even going to be able to finish off that Tier 2 tower. Actually didn't commit too much to that push, but they will go into the Roche Pit, and it will be an uncontested Roche kill here at the 17-minute mark. Aegis will go the way of the Viper. It makes a lot of sense, and he's actually pretty close to that Ag Scepter. He's got the Point Booster, Ogre Club, and the Blade of Alacrity, so just going to need that Staff of Wizardry, and he'll have himself that very powerful Viper Strike. This Viper has really had a lot of room as well. His net worth isn't too crazy. He is 4th right now, but he's got those core items that makes Viper a very scary presence here in the mid-game.
And one thing you always need to keep in mind when you look at the golden XP is not just the standing, like who is leading or who is whatnot. I mean, who's trailing, who's leading. It's pretty much 0 right now, but the question is how the gold is distributed and when they have the impact on the game. The most important hero for Alliance to have a lot of gold on is Lone Druid, because he needs to have the Radiance at the right timing, which is going to come pretty much in 1 minute, so that's really great timing for Admiral Bulldog. But the gold distribution on TR, they have some incredible mid-game items. They have the mechanism, which I don't think Alliance has picked up just yet. They don't have one.
Nope.
So they're up by a mech, which is really cost-effective at this point. They have the Medallion and Alchemist, and they have a 4-staff on Lion, and the Ag Scepter on Viper in about 200 gold. So I would say the gold on TR is worth more than the gold on Alliance right now, because they're banking up for bigger items, and the distribution of gold on Alliance is sitting heavily on Admiral Bulldog and Loda. The other 3 heroes don't have too much, whereas Razor is closing in on an Ag Scepter for TR, so I'm liking their position in the game a little bit more, even though the golden XP graphs are 0.
Yeah. A very good point indeed, my friend. And Loda did also pick up an interesting second item here, the Blade Mail. Not a bad choice on Bristleback by any means, just not one we see too often. Any thoughts about that pickup here in this particular scenario?
I think it's really nice because TR doesn't have any BKB carrier right now. At least it looks like No Fear on the Razor will be going for an Ag Scepter. He could, of course, just have a casual point booster and turn it into BKB on the Razor with the Ogre Club, but they will have to respond to Loda in the fights. And if he has this blade mail pop, they're going to take a lot of return damage. But the thing is, I actually think at this point, TR can tank through it, unless if the bear gets to do a lot of radiance damage during the course of the fight. Here comes the Necrobook 3, though, out of TR. Loving this decision from them as well. This is the perfect timing window. This is what I was talking about. 20 to 25 minutes. We hit 20, they go for the tier 2. Bottom lane, right in. But Alliance will get a good trade mid. Lone Druid, Admiral, Bulldog will be getting this tier 2 tower in mid.
Yep, and down in the bottom lane, Viper will catch the Venomancer. I did miss it as I toggled to the mid lane. Bristleback actually going to grab the tier 2 in the top, so it will be 1 tower for 2, although it did cost him... Oh god, the phase shift! Oh, the Finger of Death going to be completely mitigated there. Now Lone Druid going to come in. Nature's Prophet will fall. The Dream Coil comes out. It looks like Viper going to be in some trouble. He's the one with the Aegis, though, so he's going to pop right back up. This is going to be a great hold from Alliance, though. Now Lion looking like he's going to fall. He's going to try to port out, but Loda will be able to finish him off. As Viper comes back, he'll stand his ground. Nowhere to run. Entangle going to come out right away, and that's going to be a beautiful hold from Alliance. It ends up being a 2 for 5 exchange, and as I mentioned before that, they cleared the tier 2 tower in top and mid in exchange for just their tier 2 down here in the bottom.
And this could have gone so differently if they managed to burst down the puck of S4 there. As you saw, he got caught by the Hex from Lion. Lion follows up with the Earth Spike, perfectly on point. Loses vision, though, because S4 came up the hill towards his own base. So Lion couldn't get the Finger of Death off, they couldn't get the secondary burst off that they needed to finish him. Then he phase shifts the Finger. So he has about 500 health left in the fight, gets 4 or 5 men in the Dream Coil, in the Orb, in the Silence. That's what won Alliance that fight. If Puck dies first there, that could have been a disaster for them, actually. They could have lost a lot there. But once Puck gets off all his spells on multiple targets, the Bear gets to run around the fight like we talked about. The Radiance, as well as the Quill Spray from Loda, will win them the fight. And now he's got a Rod of Arts as well. This is very unusual item build on Bristleback.
Yeah, but it is going to give him a nice mid-game stride here. Rod of Atos gives a fair bit of survivability and ups that mana pool, so now a huge mana pool on this Bristleback as he turns the Treads to Intelligence as well, about 1.2k mana to play with. But an interesting choice. I guess the slow is helpful here in terms of chasing down those kills as folks try and run away. It does work pretty well against Razor as he is a pretty speedy force about the map, but very interesting.
Yeah, I think it's the first time I've seen this picked up on a Bristleback in a competitive game. Or maybe the second, but it's very unusual.
Veil of Discord. First item on EGM here. Not going to go for the Ags first. Instead, just going to pick up a Veil to buff up the damage of the Puck as well as the Visage. An interesting choice. It seems to be...
And the Radiance.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and the Radiance. Oh, wow. I didn't even connect the dots on that. That's a smart choice.
Really good pickup. I think every single hero in the game that has a magic damage ultimate, the Veil gives more damage than the Axe upgrade does. I might be wrong on that, but heroes like Venomancer, Sand King, even if you do the math on a hero like Lion, I believe, then Veil of Discord will give you more damage on your ultimate. But, of course, the thing is, it doesn't give any sort of health, no stats, really. It gives 6 armor, 6 intelligence, and 3 to all the other stats, which is really... not too much. And
oh no, Viper going to be in big trouble here. They're going to dive Nubik. He's pretty tanky though. We'll be able to stand the initial round of burst, though the tier 2 tower going to fall very quickly before TR can even really get in a position to try and defend here. No Fear going to be the next target in sight. He is going to get slowed by the Visage. Oh, the Entangle comes out right away, and down goes the Razor. Now Puck going to hop forward. Dream Coil going to connect with Eid and PGG. Eid going to be able to survive, at least for now. PGG not going to be so lucky. He's got that Chemical Rage on, but he just doesn't have the HP buffer to really let it come into effect. Lion will get finished off as well. Now Nubik, he's trying to make it back to the base, but just too slow. Compliments of that nasal goo, and this is looking like it'll be a 5-0. Nature's Prophet gonna try and sprout port, but yeah, that's a clean sweep. And TR starting to look in bad shape. Alliance with an absurd amount of momentum, and that's just going to be the second hugely successful team fight.
This is such a classic Alliance Lone Druid game, I want to point out. I don't know how many Alliance games I've seen that go exactly like this when they have the Lone Druid. They sacrifice a bit in the early game because Lone Druid can't really gank. They lose out a bit, TR gets in a good position, one bad team fight, game over. They took the bad team fight bottom lane, Alliance gets off to another nice team fight, now they have such a huge advantage, they're going to be taking barracks almost right now. Game over might be a little bit of an overstatement, but definitely Alliance suddenly, in a game where they were trailing a little bit, already up by about 12,000 experience and 10,000 gold. And all of that happened over the last 4 minutes, I think?
Yeah, something like that.
That's a GPM gain of 2,500. That puts things into perspective.
I mean, basically, they cleared two Tier 2 towers, they took that big team fight down here in the bottom, and then, well, they grouped up and cleared this Tier 2 tower and the Tier 1 down in bottom, and then just took another 5-man, 5-for-0 team fight. So not surprised to see that gold graph explode over just 5 minutes. But yeah, the Veil of Discord is just something that I was about to say that the Ags, I think, just for Venno, does a little bit more for the Poison Nova damage than the Veil, but if you factor in the Radiance and everything else, that was just such a huge damage increase, and the timing was just about spot on. I mean, that Veil came out, what, 2 minutes after the Radiance? I mean, you couldn't have choreographed that better if you tried, I think.
Yeah, and there's so many things it combines with. It's not just the Radiance, but also Visage nukes do a lot of damage already. The Soul Assumption bursts really hard, and when you have a puck with double AoE, magical damage nukes as well, you definitely have a recipe for a good Veil pickup, and I love seeing teams picking this up a little bit more. It's an item that I personally have underrated a lot, and it's still situational to me, but teams are starting to appreciate it a little bit more. The build-up is better now because it uses a null talisman, so you get a little bit of stats as well along the way, and overall, just especially in games like this where there's no BKBs, this item is incredibly cost-effective. And maybe that's the reason why we're seeing it picked up a little bit more, as well as that there seems to be more games where the phase in which, how do I put this, the impact of the item comes at the right time, before BKBs are a factor in the game.
Right.
And Venno got it, you said it, about, I guess about the 18, 19, 20 minute mark or something?
Yeah.
Not too many heroes have a BKB at that point, and then it's like a really deadly item for teamfights.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like Lone Druid now working towards that Assault Cuirass. He is pretty close to it, does have those core items, and just waiting on the recipe, which he's really damn close to. So that is going to be some aura action coming out from the Druid, as he does also have the Vlad's offering already in tow. On the Dire side, they've made some decent item pickups as well. Ag Scepter now going to be on the side of Razor.
Oh no.
And they are going to smoke up here.
TR just smoked directly under an Alliance ward. This is going to be a disaster, because Alliance is totally ready for this, and they're baiting it. This is even worse, because TR sees Loda, and he's just playing bait. He's letting them come in. S4 is in a perfect position as well. If TR goes in here, they're going to flat out lose this fight really hard, I think.
Yeah.
And Alliance wants it. Patience from TR waiting in the wings.
Very unfortunate.
No, they're going to come in.
Yeah. And
It's going to be really hard for them.
So sneaky. Alliance, they're doing this so well. They know exactly what's coming. We see them looking like they want to commit to the base. S4, look at that positioning. He's off to the side. Look at the Dream Coil. Going to connect with 3 to start things off. And now the fight going to transpire. PGG going to be in big trouble. He'll be the first to fall. The Poison Nova comes out. Now Nuba going to get engaged on. Puck actually does get taken out, but it looks like that could be the only loss of Alliance. No, pardon me. Venno does fall, but a 2-for-5 exchange. Alliance going to be very happy with that. Going to be easy bottom racks here. The range already fell. They're just going to be able to rotate mid. Should be able to grab double racks. Just as you predicted, Alliance knew exactly what was coming, and they handled that very well. S4 with just beautiful positioning.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest advantages you can have in a game is, I mean, of course, disregarding the huge golden XP advantage they have, if you see an enemy team smoke and you can set up for it with a bait, that's one of the best positions you can be in, because you can lure them into a false feeling of, alright, we've totally got this move. And then there's this one factor you don't consider, which is namely that the puck knows they're coming, he has the perfect position, gets beautiful counter initiation, and that's all they needed there. So TR, what they might have thought was a good backstab, actually turned out to be even worse for them than maybe a head-on fight would have been.
Yeah, and just so unfortunate that they smoked literally right on top of that ward. Really, no way that you could know a ward was there. It is, I guess, a pretty common warding spot, but still very unfortunate for TR. And a couple of kills going to come the way of Alliance here as Bulldog now out of control. That bear hitting quite hard. And as TR get cleaned up one last time, the GGs do come out. I think a pretty well-timed tap out here. That top lane of Rax was going to fall, and the gold graph pretty even, but just skyrocketing, as you pointed out. A pretty typical Bulldog Lone Druid game. This is exactly what Alliance wants. A very quiet early to mid-game, just minimize their losses and then take off once the Bulldog gets those core items. We see Bristleback grabbing a heart at the very end. Oh, man. What a good game to start things off here, Syndred.
Yeah, and I really have to say a big props to TR for a strong early game, and they were looking at a position where they had a shot at this, but it's always so dangerous to play against this kind of lineup that Alliance ran here, because the one bad team fight they took was enough to skyrocket Alliance's advantage here, but had that gone a little bit differently, then things would have been different, and sometimes all it takes is the fact that you don't bring down one hero. That puck in the bottom lane made a huge difference in that fight for Alliance, and just a little bit of detail there going the way of just a few things going TR's way there would have made for a different mid-game, and we would definitely still be playing right now. But Alliance, they take one good fight, they take another good fight, and then another one. And then, basically, the game was even 9 minutes ago. And Alliance just took out the whole base during those 9 minutes, as well as 15 kills. So, making quick work of it and being very effective in the mid game.
One of the turning points in that bottom fight was that epic phase shift that S4 had on that Finger of Death. As you mentioned, if that finger had gone off, Puck definitely would have died, wouldn't have been able to get off the Dream Coil in that bottom fight. Could have resulted in possibly even a Rax for Alliance, which would have made a much different game. Amazing how just those little things, but one simple phase shift can quickly turn the momentum, and after that, Alliance just, well, steamrolled their way to victory. An interesting game to enjoy, for sure. Now, coming up, guys, we're going to have 5 more matches for Starladder Season 8, Day 18 coverage. Up next will be the trifecta of Na'Vi games. They'll be up against OSG next, then FS, and then against Relax You're Doing Fine, a.k.a. Poseidon. And then our last 2 games will both feature super strong dinosaurs. And that will be interesting as well, as SSD are the only team in the round robin to only have conceded 1 loss thus far. They've only played 7 games, so they are technically spot 8, but they've only conceded 1 defeat, and it should be interesting to see how they fare later on today. Some great Dota matches coming up. Na'Vi going to be on Beyond the Summit next. Stay tuned. We'll be back.